Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to read the notes on the staff. So the staff is where the notes are written. And if you look at the lines that are going across the screen, we call that horizontally or from left to right. If you were to go and start at the bottom line okay, so actually I should explain. Here at the top, we've got a treble clef, which kind of looks a little bit like a fancy G. And then the next system down, that they're attached with this fancy looking bracket. Underneath that is the bass clef. So this is how you would see music written for piano. With the right hand would be playing the notes on this fancy G clef or treble clef, and underneath that, the bass clef, you would play the notes there for your left hand. Other instruments read notes in treble clef and bass clef as well. Depends on if that's an instrument that plays high notes or lower notes. So most notes play in reading the treble clef, but some read notes in the bass clef. The first note to learn is C, or what we'll call middle C. So if I see here, it's working. Okay, now it should work. Here, type in a C. Okay, now that's not the C I want. I want. Whoops. Okay. Go to this note. Drop it. Okay, that is middle C. So that's the C that's closest to the middle of the piano. So that's the first note that you should learn. It's also, I've written it as a quarter note. I'm going to write in 4 C's. So C, C again. So there's 4 quarter notes. So let's hear what that would sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. If we're clapping, we'd be clapping right on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Think of this as a ladder. Okay, and if you go higher up the ladder, step by step, you're getting higher and higher on the piano. That means if you're playing a C, the next note would be to the next on the right of C. Okay, so in the middle of a group of 2 black keys. This is what it would look like on the treble clef. Any guess what note that would be? If we're going higher, we're going to the next letter in the alphabet. So that would be, obviously, the next A, B, C, D. That would be a D. Okay, let's go. Okay, stop there. So C notice that it's below all of these 5 lines and 4 spaces on its own line going through the head of the note. That's how we know it's C. It's below all of these lines and spaces, and it has a line going through it. The next note is, notice it's just a little bit higher, and it doesn't have that line going through it. It's in between the C line and what is the lowest line here of the treble clef. So it's dangling. I call it dangling D. So there's your D, 4 Ds. And the next one is, this is C, and this is D. What do you think this one is? E, right. Because E is the next letter in the alphabet, and you can see it's 1 step higher up the ladder of the staff. And if we go 1 higher from there, we go to F. So F is in a space. So notice we're going from a line, C is on a line, to, we can call that a space. It definitely doesn't have a line going through it. This E note, which has the line going through it, and then we go up a step higher to the next space above for F, and then we go up to the next line. So there's G. So they're all quarter notes. Let's listen to what that would sound like. Okay, so those are the first notes in the treble clef that you're going to learn. If you were playing those notes on the piano, you would put your thumb of your right hand on C, and you would line up the rest of your fingers. So if your thumb is finger 1, the next finger is finger 2. That's your index finger or your pointing finger would be on D. Finger number 3, your middle finger, would be on E. Finger number 4 would be F on F, and finger number 5, your pinky finger, would be on G. So every note would get a finger, which we've talked about. So C, D, E, F, G. Now, let's think of a song. I'm going to start with C. Sometimes it automatically goes to a higher C there. C, 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 D. Two half notes. I'm going to go back to quarter notes. And then C for 4. Let's listen to that. Okay, so there's a melody from a song called Perot. C, 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 D. Notice we can spot that D, where that D is. It's that one that's dangling. C, 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 D, and then we go up a step to E. This is how we read the notes. If we're going from one note to another, we can think about, are the notes going higher? Are they going lower? Are they going up a step, down a step? Are we skipping a note? So C, 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 up a step to D, up a step to E, down a step to D again, down another step to C. Now notice from C to this note, we're going from the C line to this line. So we're skipping dangling D that would be in between. So we're skipping D. So we're going from C to E. C, E, and then we go to that D note, D, D, C. D, C, E, D, D, C. So that's how we read music. Eventually, so there's two ways for now that we're going to think about it. If we know where C is, we can use that to help us figure out the other notes. We want to remember what dangling D looks like as well, that it's hanging from that bottom line like that, and it doesn't have a line going through it. So those are two notes that we would want to just try and memorize what they look like in the treble clef. C and D. We can think of E as the very first line of the treble clef. That there's 5 lines if you count all the lines, and E is on that first line. So there's your first 3 notes. We did cover C, D, E, F, and G, but those first C, D, and E are the first 3 that you would really want to try and learn and memorize. If you were going to try and learn F, you can think of F as the first space, or the lowest space in the treble clef. And G, well, if you look at the line that G is on, and then you scan all the way over to the left back to the treble clef, notice the little part where it kind of curls in the center. That part where it curls in, it just curls past the G line. So in a way, this fancy G clef or treble clef, it curls in and it shows you where that G line is, or where that note for G is. So if you think of G as being right on that line where the treble clef curls in, and it shows you the G line. So that's way to remember where G is. And I'm going to stop the video there. So there's your first notes to learn for the treble clef. I'll post this song on Google Classroom as well for you to try and read the notes.